Hi guys, welcome. Let's dive into more qigong concepts and questions. Okay, first one, Sifu Adam. You mentioned straight spine and relax. For a straight spine in particular with the hips and the gua. Gua is the hip area and the pelvic bone area. For those who don't know, I heard that you can imagine sitting on a ball, a high chair, or a ledge. I know there is a balance between relaxing into a position versus forcing it. How do you know when you have gotten it in the right position with the hip in order to straighten the spine? Thank you. Thank you for the question. That's a very good question. Having a good posture in all the joints in the body and the spine, in this case you're asking about the hips, is very important for qigong, for good circulation, and also more importantly, the ability for us to let go and relax. Because if you don't have a good posture, your body is constantly fighting itself to maintain equilibrium, right? So the more you sit or the more you stand, the more tense you get. You're always fighting pain. You're always in agony. So it's very hard to meditate. So finding a posture is really important. So a lot of people will do micromechanics. Like, okay, we're going to hang our spine. We're going to lower our chin. Because obviously if we raise it too much, that's not straight. If we lower it too much, it's not straight. So try to find the right area where you lower your chin a little bit. 1.5 inches, blah, blah, blah. Roll your shoulders back. Feel your chest, sink it a little bit. Obviously, if you sink it too much, you're hunchback. But if you don't sink it at all, now your back's too arched. So to find a perfect posture, you have to lower it about 1 inch. Tuck in your tailbone. Turn left, turn right, sway left, sway right, lean forward, lean back. Feel your soft bone right by your bum, and as though you're balancing a stick. So what I just said, all this stuff, this checklist, they're useful and they're very common. But here's the problem. Your body cannot really focus on more than one thing in a particular moment. They can do one thing at a time, but they can't multitask very well. If you try, you end up being more tense. So the use of imagery, like for example in each one, becomes extremely important because a picture speaks 1,000 words. So instead of trying to do a checklist of many things like I just ran through, which is very common in say the New Age stuff or like in medical qigong, the older way of using imagery is better because a picture speaks 1,000 words, and by taking a picture in your mind, you can do many things in the exact same time instead of going through a checklist to try to better your posture. This includes what you're asked about how to adjust the hip. Instead of trying to adjust the hip to make it into a proper place, it is better to use the imagery. Like in each one, we talk about hanging from the sky with a rope and letting your back dangle. So you're not trying to put the hip in any particular place. Instead, you let it hang. By doing that, your hip will be in the right place, right? As for sitting on a chair, that's more for relaxing your legs. The imagery of sitting on a ledge or sitting on a chair is to help you align your spine and relax your legs. But the spine and the hip itself, the major imagery used in Tai Chi in each one is a string hanging your spine from the ceiling. By doing that, they say your posture is correct. But the truth is there's no such thing as a correct posture or a perfect posture. One of my favorite Zen monks, Empty Cloud, who was one of the best enlightened master of Zen Buddhism in the last 100 years probably, a Zen master, he said that after 80 years, was it 80 or 70 years of Zazen, practicing sitting meditation for 70 years, he goes, I'm finally getting close to having a pretty good posture. So I laughed when he said that because he was being a little bit sarcastic, which is suggesting posture mirrors the heart, the old saying in Zazen, right? So in Zazen, they say, look, you can't get a perfect posture. Therefore, there's no perfect human. When you're trying to get a perfect posture, subconsciously, you're trying to become the perfect human. Perfect posture, perfect human. No perfect posture, no perfect human. Right posture is the Buddha, unquote. So those are some Zen Buddha saying. The reason why I'm grabbing onto Zen metaphors to help you is because the Taoist metaphors are usually pretty poetic to the point that They're trying to hide information vaguely on purpose through poetry. Zen is a little bit more direct about it, so it's more useful for our current conversation. If you're trying to get a perfect posture, even your hips, subconsciously you're trying to become a perfect person, right? So you want to kind of think of it more compassionately, like, look, there's no such thing as a perfect posture. I remember one time when I first started sitting meditation about 30 years ago, I was obsessed about getting the correct posture. So when I was meditating for, let's say, an hour, I spent about 55 minutes giving myself shit for not having the right posture. Okay, my chin should be here. It should not be there. My chest should be here. I ended up not meditating at all for an hour because for 55 minutes out of an hour, I was too busy being tense. I was trying to relax harder, right? Instead of doing that, it's important to show yourself compassion to realize there's no perfect posture. Just simply hang the rope on the spine. And what happens is when you enter stillness and calmness, your body starts to adjust itself. So you get closer and closer and closer in the spectrum of a perfect posture. So you want to look at it like a positive number and a negative number. There's no n. There's no noun. There's no such thing as the biggest positive number. So there's no such thing as a perfect posture. But you can become more perfect. But it's endless. And the way to do that is Wu Wei in Taoism, which is not doing or not trying. When you're trying to get the perfect posture, you end up doing the dumb stuff that I was doing 30 years ago, which is trying to relax harder by trying to get a perfect posture. But if you just hang your spine like the imagery of a rope, instead of trying to be having a good posture, and you start hanging, when you enter stillness, your body automatically, without you even noticing, start to adjust itself for a perfect posture. So your posture gets better and better and better and better through the months and through the years, but without you having any effort, just by you holding the imagery of hanging off your spine. So that would be doing without doing, a major concept in Taoism. So when I was teaching qigong, I usually don't get people to try to perfect their posture. I'll run them through the mechanics, right? I'll tell them like, hey, lower your chin, stab the ceiling, create the space in your lungs, and then drop your chest a little bit. Experiment with when are you having a hunchback, when are you having a good posture. Sway left and right, forward and backward. Feel your soft bone in your butt. So balance the stick. Tilt your hip. Let the tailbone swing, rotate 180 degrees. Okay, but after I run them through all that, so they have a good idea of posture mechanics, I say something contradictory right away. I say, hey, now throw all that mechanics away. It doesn't matter. Simply hang from a rope. But your body already know all that mechanics because you ran through it. So when you hang by a rope and then forget about your posture, in time through the months and years, it will adjust itself. It has natural intelligence. Just like you don't have to tell yourself to beat your heart or to breathe in and breathe out. Your body and your lungs and your heart naturally do that. Same as your immune system fighting diseases. So once you get into that Taoist mode, your posture gets better without you taking any credit for it or using any effort. So this is very important. And I hope it helps you. Okay, next question. Damchanlive. That's a funny name. All right. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. So your question is, how does cultivating the Dan Tian, the lower center, affect pregnancy? I cannot qualify in a way to answer that because I taught Qigong to a lot of people through the years, but I never taught anyone that was pregnant. So what I'm going to do is just give you the natural rundown on cultivating the Dan Tian in our method, and then you can make up your own mind. Okay, so we basically do the Zhou Dynasty original Taoism, right? Before the doing practice of the Han Dynasty. In the doing practices of later Taoism, there's a lot of ways to cultivate the lower Dan Tian. Like you can do the different breathing method, reverse breathing, abdominal breathing, sideward breathing, kidney breathing, all these different kidney breathing, turtle breathing, it goes on, right? Different breathing to get you to breathe properly into your lower diaphragm, opening up the rib area, and be able to kind of move your body in a different way and in the bottom to synchronize all the directions. Once that's done, for most people, they'll start feeling a lot of heat. During the heat area, depending on the lineages, they will start working on spinning the Dan Tian in different ways. At first, you'll use your hands to help you, like we do in Xingyi, where we'll use our hands to synchronize our hand movements with the spinning of the lower dantian to help you cultivate it. As you spin more, it gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and just like in medical qigong, we start shrinking it smaller and smaller, infinitely cutting it in half. And then the next stage is you link it with different chakras. So that would be a very brief example of doing practice, which I did many years ago, but I don't do doing practice anymore. I only do the non-doing way. The reason is I saw too many people throwing up, getting diarrhea, hurting themselves, doing the doing practice I just outlined. I'm not saying all of them are like that. I'm saying trying to force things, trying to do things, trying to relax harder is really against the very original Taoist way of Wu Wei, not doing, not forcing, not causing self-harm. Because of that, I only practice the original methods of Taoism from the Zhou dynasty, and I don't practice the Han dynasty stuff. That's not to say that later doing practices is no good. I'm just saying it's not really fit my personality, because I saw quite a few people get hurt doing it. So I am more my personality with the non-doing practice of original Taoism. That being the case, how do we cultivate the dantian, the lower chakra, in the original methods of non-doing? The answer is we don't. By practicing not doing sitting meditation, for example, you would naturally, all the blood will start dropping to the lower dantian area. You will start to notice that it will start inflate in different directions. You'll start doing different types of breathing, but only if you start dialing in. But you're not trying to do it, it'll start to happen. And the dantian will start getting hotter and hotter. It will start expanding and shrinking. Eventually, it will start sprouting and connecting to the different chakra. Now, if you just look at what I just said, isn't it almost 110% the same as what I described during doing? The answer is yes. The difference is you're not trying to do it. It starts to happen by itself. When these things were starting to happen to me, at first it freaked me out, everything I described. So because I got a lot of friends that do doing practice, I checked in with them. I go, hey, this is starting to happen. This is starting to happen. This is starting to happen when I'm doing non-doing. And some of my teachers and some of my friends would go, oh yeah, that's an actual drill in my doing practice. So it's the same as the shaking energy if I go in qigong. A lot of systems will do it. They'll force it. They'll make themselves shake. They're doing it. And a lot of people get hurt doing that. But in the non-doing practice, these things, the exact same thing will start to happen. The difference is, it's uncontrived, it's unintentional, there's no effort, it's happening by itself. So when I talked to my teacher, Professor Zheng Shifang, who's also a Taoist scholar and historian, he said actually originally, all the doing practice actually came from not doing. It was starting to happen by itself, and someone documented. And then they made a further mistake of pulling it out and making a drill or a style out of it. They were never meant to be things for you to force or contrive. So this is very important. So in our practice, to answer your question, we don't try to cultivate the lower dantian. It happens all by itself. And it will mirror everything in the doing practices. The difference is we're not trying to do it. It's organically and realistically happening by itself. Because one of the precepts of original Taoism is, if you have to do something, if you have to contrive it, it is no longer genuine, organic, or real. To be real, to be authentic, means things must happen by itself, without you acting, without you contriving. Now this will contradict and probably anger a lot of people in the doing traditions, and I'm not trying to offend them, and I apologize if I did. I'm just speaking strictly from our practice, our lineage, the non-doing ideas. And for more information about that, it would be very good for people to read what I recommended in previous episode, which is the Nei Yi, the original Taoist oldest scripture. They talk about never visualizing the qi, never contriving or trying to move it, and don't try to reflect on it. It will come all by itself. And that proves in the original scripture of Taoism, echoed by Lao Tzu, non-doing was the original practice. And that prevents people from hurting themselves. And this idea of cultivating the lower dantian without cultivating the lower dantian through non-doing, I assume that it would be the same as somebody, to answer your question, was pregnant. If someone came to me that's pregnant, I will never try to, just like if someone's not pregnant, I will never teach them to learn how to contrive or force doing practices to cultivate into lower Dantian. In fact, it should happen naturally. And this is echoed in Chinese medicine, so you can check in with Chinese medicine doctors to verify this, right? So I hope that answers this question. But I've never taught anyone that was pregnant before, so this is best I can describe it for you. All right, guys, please share this clip. And if this doesn't make sense to you or you have more questions, please drop it in a comment below. See you in the next episode.